I did the math, so I get actually not 25 cents an hour, $1.50 an hour. So, but as a Canadian, that's actually compares quite well to the American dollar. And and it's actually 25 thousandths of a cent every minute. That's how much money I make. I make 25 thousandths of a cent every minute, but I actually make $1.50 every hour. So that's kind of cool. Something like that, anyway. No, hold it. 25, 2.5 thousandths of a cent. I don't. Fuck. My mind can't go there. I used to be better at math than that. I'd have to look at it more closely. But 0025 $0.0025, which is, isn't that 25 cents? Yeah. So that's 25 cents a minute. And about $1.50 an hour. Okay. All right. So it is 25 cents a minute. So I wasn't that far off. And I get $1.50 an hour. Now I've clarified it. Because I was saying 25 cents an hour. And it's like, and I thought, okay, but the guy in the States, he gets $1 an hour. I get $1.50. He's a homeless man, and he's complaining about not having enough money. And he lives in a warm climate, right? So, and that's not including like what he gets from begging, right? So there are people who beg who actually make a decent living at it. Right? Like there are people who beg where they want you to see them as pathetic as possible. Like that's what they do. They pretend to be, not all, but they pretend to be as pathetic as possible so they can get something from you. They're cold, they're shivering. They don't want to wear a shirt. They want to endure the elements. They're willing to like endure shit all day to get maybe sometimes hundreds of dollars a month from begging on top of like welfare and other things. Cash off the books. So I think there's more to homelessness and poverty in that level, at the street level, than meets the eye, unfortunately. But and among them, I'm sure you will find people who don't want to do this for a living at all. You know, I'm sure, and that's abominable to have to be in that situation. So, but and then it's kind of an insult to see a guy on video saying, "Oh, I make $1 an hour," like it's nothing. And it's like, really, you make $1 an hour? Like that's just about as much as I make in Canada, in Canadian currency, right? And and things cost more here, as well. So, like in the United States, like a hamburger there costs like $2. The hamburger here will cost like $8, sometimes depending on where you go, or $5. It's just one hamburger, right? It's $5 or $6. From the States, it's like $1.99. So there's a lot of different costs incurred here in this communist colony of Canada. It's basically a communist colony, is what it is. They make you sound like it's the Commonwealth, but it's really the communist wealth, right? You gotta use the right words, and then you sound more smart. You know what? I think I forgot to plug my pants in here. Sure. Oh, I see. I think you know what I was gonna say before I start to wake up this day. So I had another nightmare last night. I've had nightmares lately, and this nightmare, I don't know if it's more or less pleasant than the other one, but I'm in my house and I'm doing something in my bedroom where I first started, pretending to be a scientist and all that kind of stuff. Nothing kooky, just anyway, I was doing something, I don't know what I was experimenting with in my room, and I moved to the window, but I was near my closet, and all of a sudden these flames came up in my dream, like the house was burning, flames, flames, flames. And then it's like I didn't think much of it, and then I go to near my bed, near where the window was, and I'm doing something, and then in my dream, like all of a sudden, like the house is on fire, and then I wake up and I'm just thinking like, fuck, why am I not paying attention to the flames? Why am I not paying attention to the flames? This house is on fire, it's like, and it emphasizes the level of danger I was in as a child, as the other nightmares do. They always emphasize like an incredible danger that I was in being a child, and that danger that has followed me through into my relationships with women who have been dangerous people for me to be around. And it follows the theme in my life of accessing the voice of myself as a child and really honoring the medicine of my mother tongue. So all those things kind of come together in the nightmare. which also I'm having these nightmares and I'm feeling better and better. So it's like there's definitely some kind of deep psychic recovery going on in my system. So, because in a sense, psychosis is when there are flames and you don't do anything. Like it's in everything that you're forced to normalize that isn't in fact good for you, and that's in a communist sense. That's like basically what makes people decent people. It's like becoming a person, like a redneck family. A child hurts himself. It's like, oh, stop crying and be a man. That's kind of like just right. And you can see that. I can see that when I'm around them. I passed a man, a woman, a redneck on the trail. One of whom I knew, the female, with whom I'd had some sexual violence, had been sexually violent to me. You can see that sexual violence is a very common aspect of her life, and not just men to women, but also women to men. Like it made perfectly clear, and you will always find this out about them. And she was with a guy, she was with her children, and I remember I just started singing after they passed by because the energy was just something was so deeply disturbing. And they're all smiles and everything. It's like so much rage built into there, so much. And it's like these people are like soldiers, and they haven't even fucking joined the military yet. It's like they're like child soldiers, and they're a different kind of people, you know. And my mom fell. She had a fall. She fell over a log, and I should have been more attentive to her. And I was just wicking off the energy that I just picked up from these people. So I just walked along in the forest trail in my bare feet, and I was just singing a little song. And my mom, for her part, she should have asked me for help, but she got a little stubborn, and as people in forests do before they hurt themselves, usually. And I thought, that's that energy. It's the disturbance of those people walking by. It actually gave my mom a sore rib, and it's like, because I know my feet started just moving faster as they passed by. I was just like, holy fuck, you know. And it's like I have good senses, and this is why a lot of rednecks don't like me, you know. You just, and then there's women like this, like they do sense it or they don't, but they almost like it. It attracts you to them, you know. But she's almost in a trance. I've never, and a lot of these women, like they never really talk to you in like a normal voice. Like you can tell they don't. They're very guarded. They don't want you to know much about them. Right? And and it's fine. It's fine to be guarded and not want people to know much about you. But it's like that threshold says a lot in people. It's not that they are guarded, but the way that they're guarded, I suppose, on a deeper level. And you see too much brightness in the eyes, that's not good. And she's very overweight as well. And it's just like, I'll remember that. It's like, that was a very disturbing energy. It's like, And my last few encounters with this woman, the last 3 encounters have been very disturbing. And I don't even know her. I just went into her now and then. It's like, I don't go to the coffee shop where she works anymore. And for other reasons as well. It's just, wow, these women around here, they're just so aggressive. So traumatized though. And you just see that. I know in my family too, it's like, I was a tough guy as a child. Like I won all the wrestling matches. I was great at sports, stuff like that. It's not like I was a wimp, but it's like there's something that people learn to tough that I just refuse to tough. It's not a decision I'm gonna make. I don't just tough it. You know what I mean? I don't just sit on my tough it and tough it. There are things and changes in my brain that go on in a lot of other people. And I looked at my friends, and the ones that were homosexual, for instance, and how, particularly to me, because they knew me, how aggressive they became. Some younger men who are exhibiting different signs of homosexuality would catcall me from the street when I was playing with another friend in my yard. Like, I don't even know why they were yelling at me. Other times, that same friend, just exhibited very odd tendencies. These are things that I was noticing as a child. That was actually, I was internalizing in the sense that I was becoming more nervous about people. I wasn't inclined to make new friends easily or at all. And the friends that I made, early on in my elementary school career, I was like friends with one of the most popular students, but that ended very quickly. And they started becoming more belligerent to me, more malicious, deceptive, manipulative, and but just to me, not to other people. And they were just, basically cutting their teeth until eventually they became, an uber social person in high school, and eventually, as it turned out to be homosexual. Very fashion conscious, like missing out basically more of the yearbook photos in my yearbook than I think any other human being in that school. He's just everywhere, and I never know what happened to that guy, and he never knew what happened to me. But he knew that I became very quiet and very withdrawn. He just didn't talk to me anymore. He never talked to me. I was in high school with him for like 2 or 3 years before he transferred. I don't think we ever had a conversation. Never talked, never near each other, didn't nothing. Didn't have any of the same classes for sure. And that was it. Strangest feeling. I remember not just him becoming aggressive, but female friends of his, sort of fag hags, started to become aggressive with me as well. And it was clear that there was another like young woman named Tara became aggressive with me at one point and called me names, and another woman became infatuated with me and would call my name when on the soccer field and started making anonymous calls to my house. And another woman asked me to a dance at the school, and I'd never even talked to her, and I said no, and she seemed really upset. It made me really uncomfortable. She made a big deal out of asking me to the dance, and I was just like, no, I don't. I didn't have the slightest interest in going to a dance. The idea of touching these cretins for fun, and like I would have to really be on drugs. I would have had to start drinking and be on some sort of prescription drugs to be able to have fun at a dance with these orangutans. It's just not going to happen, right? You have your own sense, like when you feel comfortable, and I never felt comfortable at school. I'd go home, I would make tapes, I'd make comedy tapes, I would get on the computer, I'd write programs. I got interested in artificial intelligence at an early age. I got interested in this. My interests would change. I just moved around in age-appropriate ways, and I started. School slowed me down. I mean, school I could get A's with a lot of work, but I enjoyed it, right? So, but it was a full-time commitment. It was a full-time job to me, and one I realized in retrospect I never got paid for, and at which I actually eventually burnt out because it really wasn't doing anything for me. It was like a drug. And then I learned a lot over time about how people's jobs and careers become like drugs to them. I know exactly what it's like. It's just like you can really enjoy your job and it can be a fucking drug. And the rest of your life is actually quite peripheral to your job, emotionally and everything. And it works that way, as long as everyone works around that. And so everything is kind of like a satellite relationship. As you're spinning around the world and busy jet trotting and and doing here and going that and doing that. It's amazing how people connect. I'll get up with you there, man. Catch up with you. Yeah, hey, send me a text. And everyone's sort of moving like jets in Star Wars, in 3 dimensions. I'm growing here. I'm doing that. I'm fucking them. I'm getting married. I'm having babies. I'm this. I'm going to school. I'm doing that. I'm going there. I did this. I'm this. I'm this. I'm this. Guess what? I'm gay. Guess what? I'm straight. Guess what? I'm this. It's like, and in the mass of it, from high school onward, and I see a lot of human behavior to me, I would call like very high school-like behavior, because you can see a lot of the aggressive behavior people tend to exhibit in a communist society really starts in the school system. And as it did with friends of mine who were considered some of the friendliest people, practically voted the friendliest person by my grade 6 teacher in front of us in class, like picked out for a story about, the friendliest person, like, and he was basically saying, like, would anybody hurt this person? Would any of you ever want to hurt Nadine? And Nadine was his name, and everyone's like, no, everyone likes Nadine, and that was the point of his story. You shouldn't hurt people. You should think of everyone like Nadine, right? But Nadine wasn't very nice to me, and Nadine wasn't taken away for testing for intelligence. I never knew what Nadine's grades were, but I guess he coasted by pretty good. I mean, let's face it, elementary school is not that hard. I mean, fuck. High school is not much worse. I mean, if you have like any brains at all, right? You just do the work, right? And it's meant to be easier and easier all the time. They just want to get you through. At the end of the day, they don't tell you that, but teachers just want to get you through. They're not there to be your best friend. They're there to pretend to be your best friend because it makes their job easier. It's an easier day for them as a communist bureaucrat if they can have a good time interacting with you. And combined with which, if you have fairly good grades, or at least you're being consistent, and your parents aren't going to come down and fucking shake their fist at you, life is good. And if you're a pretty young female, if you're a good-looking young jock, it's all the better, because they're just people, they're animals. I've talked to people from high schools where they had to suck the gym teacher's dick. They lined up to suck his dick. Just young, horny females with a very horny gym teacher with no boundaries. Right? They become nice little cocksuckers while they're learning to play volleyball. And it happens more often than you think. A lot of sex, a lot of hormones, institutions with people who are bureaucrats, and teachers really don't get a lot of sex. I mean, look at them. Your high school teachers really aren't very sexually vigorous people. And who do they have access to all day long? Right? They're bureaucrats. They're teaching the same thing year after year after year. And I met a retired teacher with a master's who taught elementary school, and he volunteered to me with evident pride in the best evidence he could give me that his fundamental way of thinking about children, learned from communist think tanks, was the way he still thought about them. Okay, so, it's the world is not what you think it is. If all we do is get to be different kinds of sociopaths, it's like, I don't want to sign up for that. That's not my idea of a good time. I'd rather stay in the woods all day. Now, I have to have some protein. That's what I've been missing. Where's that? Oh, that slug is on my chip bag now. Hey, that's my chip bag. Let go. Thank you. He's going for the chips. Hey, what are you going for? I'm sorry to deprive you of what you wanted, but there was nothing good was going to come from that. I do enjoy your presence, though. Somewhat. Now, I have to have some food. Oh, sorry about that. I was sitting on a twig that I was jostling. Nobody here. The meth addict that was here seems to have left. And it was weird because he got to know me. He seemed okay. And then he seemed to want more from me. I don't know if it was sex or he wanted me to do meth with him or something. It was really creepy. He's homosexual. As a lot of meth addicts are. People with displaced sex function or dislocated sex function can be very nervous or, very frustrated. They've always got to be doing something. Very prone to addiction. Very hard to sit still. My depression may as well be a sexual issue. Oh, this is really good. Ungale. I think my depression actually might be sexual in some way. In other words, I've never had a chance to use my sexual energy with a woman because there's no one suitable. I think if I was a lesbian, the women I've known would have been very happy. That would have been perfect for them. That's what they wanted. I think they wanted to turn me into a lesbian. They can't say it out loud, but I wonder how much women are taught or trained to idealize lesbianic men. or homosexual men, and that they kind of want men to be homosexuals, right? You want them to dress nice, right? You want them to be charming. Manly, of course, but in a really charming way. This is just crazy people. I'm just going over something in my head. Wow. Sometimes you're just forced to look into people's minds, and it's not a pleasant thing. You think my mind's crazy. Wow. take the mind of a man who doesn't know he's a homosexual, who's given up having testicles and morals, but works perfectly well around lots of very sexually perverted people and morally perverted people. And you see them together, and then you see them take an interest in you. Different levels of interest. So one of them, again, in love with me. One of them probably could care less. Other ones, a little more hostile, growing more hostile, and then the hostility just blossomed, and then eventually I had to leave. And I was asked to leave. I lost my temper. And this manager, to whom I'd gone with some concern about the behavior of one of the cashiers, who all of a sudden started treating me like I had raped her, basically, and I didn't even know who she was. And she was getting she was receiving slander about me from another sociopath whom I used to know. And he comes to me 2 weeks later after his personality has altered in the last 2 weeks towards me. And I said, like, what's going on? And he says, eventually admits, after telling me nothing's wrong, that this woman accused me of actually harming her. But it's like, no big deal, apparently. Like, he hasn't asked me to leave, hasn't talked to me. No adjustments have been made, but says, when I ask her to make a further inquiry, that he's willing to protect her in whatever way necessary from me. Right? After her and another woman have been sexually assaulting me for weeks. Right? And I accepted it, and then eventually just like, I couldn't ignore it anymore. But it doesn't come to me. It just keeps this little bit of snippet, like it's nothing, and then plays it at the right moment to defend himself, basically. Now, granted, this woman had lied to him, right? But let's look at what he sees as protecting her. He doesn't talk to me, which he could at any time. I shop there every day. Does nothing more but to pretend to be more friendly to me, and gives the other lady time off work. Like, she doesn't make eye contact with me anymore, nothing. Anyway, I just completely rip him a new one, and I leave. I tell him I can't possibly shop here anymore after you've slandered me in public. I mean, he has no evidence of anything. It's like, I can't in all good honor shop somewhere where someone can accuse me of something, and it's no big deal on the one hand, but you don't bother talking to me, and apparently have changed your personality in order to protect her. A highly codependent homosexual, a communist. Right? And you can just see it. And like, I never wanted to have to deal with this guy. I mean, he's just, as soon as he was hired, he would never look at me, never make eye contact. And then in the last week I was there, he started using my first name all the time. Hi Landon, hi Landon, hi Landon, like we were best friends. Because he was just nervous, or he thought that was how to handle this person whom he believed had molested one of his personnel, but never approached me and never asked me to leave. Right? Personnel, by the way, who had been exhibiting signs of extreme distress, actually turned out to be psychosis, which is what I suspected. This other off-site sociopath that actually triggered a psychosis for both of these women. By telling them tales, as is her MO, because I used to be friends with her, and I would see her do this, about men that she wasn't able to have sex with, and that she didn't like for some reason, having raped her. Believe me, this is not an attractive woman. And so eventually, they just quit. Like, that's it. I don't think they ever worked out again. Because I called them out. I said she's a liar, and let him know what I thought of him. He's a coward. Right? Should have talked to me first. We're carrying this accusation on him, and clearly has no thought for me whatsoever. doesn't even mind admitting that he preferences his staff over his customers. Because any customer having a problem with your staff, right? That could be anyone for all you know. This is your company. This is somebody's company, and they care about it. What are you doing? Right? Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. Well, actually, a lot of things have happened like this, but not in a store like this. And anyway, it didn't work. Right? And I guarantee you that man, even though he kicked me out, I talked to the owner like 5 minutes later, and he's like, "Yeah, you can go anytime you want." Like, he has no reason to tell you not to go there. Like, it's like, he made a mistake. He had every right to be upset, and that's fine. And but I swear, I bet you that man doesn't come to work one day without looking over his shoulder to see if I'm coming. He's such a fucking coward. And he probably doesn't even know what he did wrong. Right? That women like this, sick, demented women, could just manipulate him that easily. And himself, basically, reveal himself as actually a highly manipulative individual who's actually a schizophrenic. I mean, I've seen him in different personality states. And a lot of the people he hired, 2 of whom quit because of me, right, were also borderline personality. And there's a 3rd, bisexual in the back, who's clearly a borderline personality. So since he arrived there, 3 of the people he's hired are borderline personality disorders, without a doubt, right? Like in very explicit ways. Like if I was wearing a body camera, I should just show you, I know, but I won't say, the things that they've said to me. They made me feel uncomfortable. They made other people feel uncomfortable shopping there, even asking for a cup of coffee or whatever. Like, they're just demented people, right? Several times I was asked to leave before they started becoming more violent, just for whatever. Just because, you're there, or you're a man, or whatever. Like, go shop somewhere else. Like, can you imagine that? So I was fine at the end of the day. Like, I used this pentagram, and I put a curse, you could say, on the organization, all of its people and all of their chakras, and changes were made quite swiftly. And I don't think he'll ever come to work in that store and not think every single day about me and about men like me, and how to treat his customers with more respect, and have more honor and more respect for the honor of being able to do the job he does for an otherwise incredible company. But I also learned at the same time, having said that the ownership, whom I know have had problems with their employees losing them, they're not well people. So the whole organization's got sex problems, and I won't give the name of the company. It doesn't matter. I don't use them anymore. But they still serve the locals as much as they do. And I have no reason to, disparage their ability to continue doing that, because they're still the best at what they do locally. And but they're sick, and the owner's own 2-year-old son contracted cancer. And his wife is a very obese, ugly-looking woman, and you just wonder why these rich people always have these fat, ugly wives. It's like they might say till death do us part, but if you gain 100 pounds, man, I'm gonna get the shovel, the lime, the rope, the gun, whatever it takes. We're gonna take a long drive out to the desert, and I'm gonna give you to the carrion, because then I'm gonna shoot myself next. It'll be like Juliet and Romeo, instead of Romeo and Juliet, because we're obviously dying. Why don't we just get it over with? So, how is the wife and child of the owner of, let's say, a business specializing in health, how do they exhibit such putrid conditions when they have all the best at their disposal? And it's just stuff like that that just irritates me. I don't want to bug them. I just want to understand the problem. And on the course of this, I learned to question certain things about that industry and other related industries. And there's much more going on here than meets the eye. Nothing against them. It's just so I counted coup on these women, right? I mean, the off-site sociopath. I could psychically hear her screams of failure and rage when these two ladies quit. They were just like, oh, here we go. That's what I was waiting for. And I just knew everything had basically fallen into place, and I just used the destructive energy that they brought to the situation, and it just did what I needed to do as a witch, and it sent. These were cowards. This guy was doing little more than sexually menacing me, and they were doing little more than sexually assaulting me, taken together. But it was normal for them. They're codependent. They're not sexually connected. They're homosexual. They're not moral. So they're basically using only 50% of their mind, essentially. They've been dehooked. They've been dislocated. And this 50% minded people, they're basically becoming the general population, or they have become the general. So they're kind of like the people like this, right? It's not just the Illuminati, that's you. That's you using half of your mind. Living with one half of your mind tied behind your back. Because, of course, you're so proud of yourself. I can live on earth with one hand tied behind, with one part of my mind tied behind my back. I can be an environmentalist, and I can be an engineer, and I can do it all with one part of my mind tied behind my back. Yeah, I'm like a pirate, swapping the deck. Oh, aye, matey. Bend over and be a good communist. Right? The pirates, right, are all homosexual. That's the thing about the pirates of the Caribbean, right? They're all homosexuals. They've got one part covered up. They tend to see life one way, right? The communist way. The hammer and sickle, right? If your sex can be dead, what does it matter if anything else is dead? If you can live without your sex function, you're ready to go. You're like a Navy SEAL. And in fact, it actually makes life easier in a communist society because it's been made for people who don't have full sex function. Right? It's not made for people like me. It's not made to cater to the indigenous inhabitants, right? Who are the last species who've really had sex function on the earth. You look at those chiefs, that's what a man looks like. Look at a chief in an American book, even these white books. Look at the pictures of these chiefs. That's what a man looks like. It's not a Navy SEAL. He's not a Marine. He's not a submariner. He's not a big, strong guy at the gym. He's not a homosexual wearing trainers. He's a man. He's a man. Right? He's got more important things to do than to prove that he's Obi-Wan Kenobi to you. When do you have to really face difficult circumstances? When is it really the world faces you? When are you alone? When are you left to fight the silent war with eternity and the lovelessness of man all by yourself? That's what the chiefs do. And that's what the chiefs do with you and in you. The chief of you does that. The chief of you does that. The chief of you is the chief of this earth, and we need the chiefs in people. The chief, what is utmost, what is purest and strongest in human beings. And I don't think that anything necessarily deprives people of that, not any illness, not any loss of sex function per se, because there's not enough known about the mass loss of sex function. And that's what human beings have lost in our society. Christianity is a homosexual religion. Western civilization is a homosexual religion. It's the religion of pirates. The banks, the entertainment, the movies, everything is basically a pirate ship that's landed on the shore, and it's recruiting pirates, good communists. That's why they swab the deck and they have the poop deck. The pirate ship is just a religious symbolism of pedophilia and homosexuality, right? Getting their booty, right? Your booty, right? The booty call, getting their booty, right? Mutiny on the booty. The spoils of war. right? If they can get you enough in your mind and your fears as a child, they own you. They own your ass, you might say. They own your son, because ass is a word for the sun. They can put a pall over your son and over your sex, and they can call it Apollo, and he could stride forth like a wonderful androgynous Olympian. Oh, Apollo, right? And women make really good men, better than men make women. So that's also advantageous to the system. If you can make the general standard of men in all the 50 Shades of Grey, a woman who's had a little bit of femininity taken away, and a man who's had his manhood taken away, you've got yourself, a communist Zen garden right there. Just got to rake a little bit of the cat shit out of it now and then, you've got a world. Right? And I noticed, growing up, it happened to my cousins, it happened with my sister, that between like the age of 9 and 12 and 12 and 20, my sister became a completely different person. She became extremely aggressive. She was a nice little girl, right? She was my sister, and then she just became like a bulldog. She became like a lesbian. And today she has a male boyfriend, but she's built like a square. She's built like a tank. It changes their bodies. Right? She runs and starves herself compulsively, but otherwise she would just be this really fat woman. She has my sister is gone. She was gone. I mean, she was basically a schizophrenic at that point, but a good communist schizophrenic. She had gone through the change, right? She had a school counselor, a man who often had control of young women, Mr. Stewart, who's passed away, and he was just wonderful. I really wonder about teachers that everybody loves. Mr. Stewart, and he was my counselor as well. And when I went to see Mr. Stewart had no interest in me. That much was clear. Mr. Stewart could have cared less about me. See, I didn't have breasts, right? If I'd had breasts, who knows? Mr. Stewart might have actually took an interest in me. So I knew something that other people didn't know, right? Because I paid attention. But I had other things to do as well. I wasn't just paying attention to the Mr. Stewarts of this world. Right? God, I mean, they're a dime a dozen. But everyone in the fucking town shows up at their fucking funeral because of what amazing guys they are. They stay in the system till like they're 80 years old because they're fucking addicted to it. They can't leave. They're dyed-in-the-wool bureaucrats, and you can't trust one of them. You can't trust one of them. A person or a man says yes to certain things, all of a sudden, it doesn't even matter what you say no to at that point. That's the communist motto. Work till you die. Anyway, my sister became a very different person. Completely different person. And, you don't have time to keep track or understand what's going on, but between 9 and 12, my sister had completely changed her personality. She started to hoard food in her room. She started to become quite verbally violent with me. She started a gang of female bullies in school that she talked about at a young age. They called themselves a name, and they would go around and bully less popular girls. And she's now a teacher that teaches anti-bullying to young women. And yet, she's one of the most violent women I've ever met. She's completely, gone up here. But very intelligent, master's degree in education. But lesbianic. She has no morals. She's fundamentally dislocated. So what the communist system did is took a beautiful little girl, my sister. There's nothing I could have done about it. I was only a year and a half older, and just completely robbed her of her femininity. And then between like 9 and 12. Still developed, still can have sex, doesn't have children. Super performance oriented, jogs 5 miles a day, writes books, that kind of thing. Say nothing of the, it's not quality, it's just big change. And she specializes in feminine development. And who pays her? Rich parents. So their daughters can become performance oriented, but in a compassionate way. A way that honors who they are and their ability to set their own boundaries with the world, with men, with each other, to be good people, but provided they have everything they need to perform. And if you're not performing, we know something's wrong, so we're going to have to find out what that is. And what an awful thing it must be for a child when their parents start getting tests to find out what's wrong with you. They take you to psychologists or psychiatrists to find out what's wrong with you. To find out if you need any extra help. And a lot of children in rich families, this is what happens to them. And all you're guilty of is being a natural animal. You're just a natural human being. You're a genius, right? You're 8, 9, genius, easy. And then all of a sudden that communist ledger starts coming in. You realize this working that your parents doing, you're starting to notice that it's not giving everything you need, and your mind and body are starting to react. They've learned to accept it, but now their foundation is disturbed and their way is not clear. Now boundaries have to be tested. You can find yourself erupting in emotions and not knowing why, disliking your parents and not even knowing why. Distances are created, and you feel as though you're the one doing it, but you know you're not. You know it's them. You know something is wrong. It can't be you, but you don't know for sure, and it undermines everything. So you're better off just taking some kind of drug and forgetting about it. Between your friends, your family, and psychiatrists, and the rest of the world, you will now be raised by a conglomerate organization of bureaucrats and people basically just trying to survive, and many of whom are impregnated in their minds with the jargon of a scientifically run global communist state, maximizing the advantage of every vulnerability it can create in you at an early age. And so I see these changes that take place in young girls. You see them, they're like 9 years old, they're 3 years old, they're 9 years old, they're angelic, they're graceful, they're feminine, right? Hopefully, not always, they don't always make it to 9, and then they get fat, or they're just like, they join the track team, and now it's like, I'm gonna be the best fucking girl who ever jumped over the sand and ran the hurdles. I can do 9.3 seconds with my cock strapped on the back of me, and it's not natural. It's kind of Grecian, right? The track and field team in high school, track and field, seemingly innocent set of activities, and how motivated, almost like a military camp, children become, to make this jump and to do this and to vault over here. It's cool. It's on the one level, it's just sport. It's fun. You're young. Why not use your body and enjoy it? But there's more to it that, and there is. It's about winning. It's especially in American culture. Be the best. Win. Train. You can't get results without discipline, sacrifice. Now it's not a game anymore. Now it might even be a profession. Right? And what are you putting into all of that performance-related activity? What are you trying to prove? And at the end of the day, what are you accomplishing, really? Maybe you get a medal, but no matter how many times you jump over that bar, you haven't really done anything. You haven't gone anywhere, have you? You haven't learned anything about yourself except what you can learn while jumping over a bar. or running laps around a track or throwing a football, right? You've only learned what you can learn by doing that. Look at these lands around you. Look at these lands around you. You think they have nothing of the school in them? They have nothing of the education of mankind? A Iroquois or a Cherokee scout could go off into the woods of Canada if they wanted to, naked. You could strip everything from them, and they would live like a king for the rest of their lives. That's how much this land educated them, right? None of our schools ever could do that. Wow, those sirens. That's funky. I think I might start moving. The slug has been moving around the whole time. It's funny. I might start getting to the other side and just get walking. Something about those sirens just disturbs me. Because they'll stop like really soon. Like look at, they're gonna stop nearby or something. I'm sure of it. It's humanity intruding. I know it's selfish of me, but ugh. Yick. Yickety yak. Don't talk big. Anyway, that's a lot of serious talk, so. I'm such a serious dude. That's why nobody loves me. Too serious. And when they do, they want to jump my bones. It's like, it's either ambivalence, hatred, or I have to jump your bones immediately. And you don't know this, but like you want to jump my bones and everything's going to be perfect. We'll have little babies together. And we'll just be jumping each other's bones forever. And that's how relationships work because, you know, I'm a girl. I know everything. It's like, yeah, thank you. I'm not going to pop out little meat injections whenever you want. Fact of the matter is, if I just had a girl I could hang out with, that would be great. You know, have a little something to show each other maybe. But, or it could be I've just gotten too much into my own thing, too specialized. What was my mom was saying earlier today? When she dropped me off, she said people get older, they get more, you know, they don't accept things as much anymore. And it's like, oh, okay. She's like, you know, I'm not sure if I quite agree with that, but yeah. He's like, you know, you were talking about roommates, and it's like, yeah, you don't accept stuff as much. I was like, huh, okay. It's nice my mom and I could be roommates. Man, I woke up from that dream so super aware of a lot of the trauma I've gone through around my mom. I didn't say anything. I just told her I had a bad dream. But it's like, gee. It's like, I don't know. Like I can feel my shoulder aching right now. I just know that I just want my mom on some level to always have a chance to kind of like see a little bit, like how far her anger can go. And then from that, like put that energy into just respecting and admiring the patience that I've given her, right? Because I love her, and because I need a mother, and because I need a family, and because I need a friend, right? Or all of the above. That's what I want from her, psychically. Just understand like what I've endured, and that, you know, just give me a little credit. That would go for any of my family. Like, and we could just start, you know, from perfect right away. Just give me a little credit for what I've endured. And that's all I ever ask for my family. Give me a little credit for what I've endured. You know, just let me know you know. what I gave you, right? I gave you a pass for doing awful things to me, right? Learn, if you want to learn something from that, learn to respect and admire me. You know, when you look at someone like you respect and admire them, what do you end up doing? You end up learning from them. And you don't have to do that to everyone, but it's nice when you're someone's brother or my brother if you kind of do that for me. It sucks when people don't have the chance to do that, I guess. This is a fun one. Oh, those signs are still going. Maybe it's because I put up a video on homosexuality today. I actually think I'm the last person in the world not to like homosexuals. It's such a successful penetration of homosexual propaganda that basically everyone just loves homosexuals now. If you're homosexual, it's like, can I take care of your children? Are you homosexual? Yeah. Oh, come on in. Hey, Martha, it's one of them homosexuals. We know we can completely trust them with our children because they're homosexual. And we would never, ever seek to be suspicious of anyone who is homosexual. You have the hand of God in you. You are the puppet of eternal goodness. You know, it's just like, I'm the last person in the world to think that that actually is irrational. Right? It's amazing how the qualities often associated with gay men or homosexual men are seen as automatically good recommendations for their being around children. Right? And how safe and maternal they could be, good nurses, right? They could do a job a woman could do, a homosexual could do it. They're nurturers, they're maternal, they're feminine. They're about nesting, being good at interior design, fashion, which is strange actually because it's actually out of sequence with what is strictly maternal. But it's interesting that through the homosexual lens, what is maternal becomes most fashionable. And it's become fashionable in my lifetime to feature pregnant celebrities and how fashionable it can be to be pregnant, you know? And I distrust in a communist society anything that's fashionable, right? Because everything that's fashionable is communist in some way. Nothing ever becomes fashionable that isn't communist in a communist society. So you would say fascist, I don't care what you call it. It's all communism. All the systems are communism. There's never been anything but communism. It's like, why would you need anything but communism? You know, it's like, oh yeah, communism, it's working perfectly, but we decided to invent another one called capitalism. And it will compete with the communism that was working perfectly and will undermine our own advantages. Yeah, that's because that's the kind of people we are. It's like, and people in PhD programs believe that. They believe that happened in human history. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but it's like you see what communist education does to people, right? How deeply it can go. How early did it get that deeply that it could get that deep? This is Harjeep Sandhu asking you difficult questions from the deep green forests of Parksville. I'm Rapia Ingenue. Please follow me in a path of sexual delight and numinous romantic fantasy as I discover what it's like to be a 46-year-old virgin who lives with his mother on her couch. Not at the same time, but you know what I mean. It could be very romantic if you think about it. Here, come home to my place, my darling. Come meet my mother. Look at that tree. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm like a deer. Like sometimes just sounds can get me going. It's like, yep, time to leave. Knowing when to leave. Such an important part, being a deer. It's like when I'm at a party, I always know when to leave, which is usually immediately. I don't even want to go through the front door of any party or any gathering of any people, family or friend I've ever been to. Even if the house was filled with all of my own friends, I didn't want to go in there. And none of those friends are my friends today. So what does that tell you? I remember at like my 35th birthday or something, I was on Salt Spring Island. Everyone there was homosexual in some way, and everyone there eventually assaulted me in some way. Everyone there, every single person. That was assumably all the friends I had at the time, throwing me a birthday. Well, just basically giving me some presents and saying happy birthday. But it was nice. But I'm not even sure to this day why they were all there at the same time. And I remember thinking, who are these people? And why are they my friends? What do they want from me? You know? And some of them were interesting in some ways and others were interesting in other ways. But I couldn't make a complete person out of all of them, and none of them were moral. And they all did violent things. And it's like, oh, shit, I need to meet better people. So this is a river that I'm going to cross. This is a river that I'm going to cross. So I don't see any people around. And people don't even know that I do this. I spend all day in here, and then I come and spend all day over here. So I'll put my shoes on, and then I'll walk across this, I don't know what you'd call it. Come on, vocabulary. Go, gadget vocabulary. An estuary. I don't know, what do you want to call it? A place of earthly effluent. Anyway, and then I'm going to go down this way for about a 20-minute walk to go to my wonderful little private habitation. Now, if you want to compare it to something from your life and you're a reasonably wealthy upper middle class person, this is like going to Vegas and then having someone take your bags and then winding your way from the airport to your penthouse suite where you're going to masturbate to Asian porn that you got a glimpse off someone's tablet while you were in first class and got a bit of a yen for. Of course, there's 36 channels of it. You get on back in the easy chair, you pour yourself a drink, maybe get a bowl of salty nuts, and let nature take its course. I think I'm so funny. Look at deer. You can smell, this is like a garden of rose. Oh, and an eagle. Hello. The chief has spoken. I wonder if he's going to the nest. Oh, and there's another one right up here. I just noticed another one sitting there, right above us. The roses are intoxicating. So here I can get my shoes on, I guess, if I need to. I wish I didn't have to, but let's see, where's this river at? Yeah, I've crossed it at different places. I can cross it here, which is nice, and I can cross it here, which is a little shorter in a way, and then I get that actually difference probably makes about 15 minutes difference because it's a bit of a hefty walking around there a little bit, and then you have to come through this gully, and then you have to get up about 10 feet on the side of what's going to be actually fairly wet, muddy little hillside there. So I wish I knew the names of things. My video is more interesting if I knew the names of anything. I don't know the names of anything, Daddy. You don't know what anything is. You're not a wild expert. You're a fucking moron. It's like, son, you're only 4 years old. You don't know that for sure. How many other people do you know? I was listening to this guy on YouTube, and he's a good communist, and he says he has a good job, and he actually went to wilderness school, and he actually knows how to build a tent out of wood and slug droppings. And Daddy, all you do is talk to the slugs. And I ain't seen you build anything in my entire life except a big pile of shit in what I used to call my neocortex. It's son, because I'm trying to prepare you for a communist society. I have to challenge you to make you strong. Daddy has to be full of shit so that you can figure out shit from Shinola. When Pepsi Cola gets on the TV show there, you don't know what's going on. They're programming you to go up to the mothership. You're going to order a venti cappuccino one day. Next thing you know, something with looking like Spock is going to be going down on your little Shinola down there. You got to listen to Daddy. Listen to Daddy real good. I want to make people really afraid of me being somebody's daddy. It's like, tell me that man is nobody's daddy. Telling me that man is nobody's daddy. I am not a good daddy. I'll make a movie called Bad Daddy. bad daddy talking about bad things. Daddy's so bad. Daddy doesn't like children, actually. I don't see why he would. I don't like them anymore. I've decided I don't like children. It's like, I don't want them, I don't like them. I like them in the spirit realm. But other people's children, I like my children, but other people's children are unconscionable. I don't know why you don't shoot them. Oh. Oh. I think that you need to have a bigger heart. Don't talk about shooting young people. And that's your lesson for today, people. Don't think about shooting children. It's not good manners. Don't even joke about it. People just shouldn't shoot children, okay? That's the number one rule I live by. I don't shoot children. There you go, I am a moral person. It's so easy to make fun of society because society is so full of shit. All you have to do is pretend to be full of shit. You sound like society. A sociologist should be someone who's just full of shit at the bar. Well, let me tell you about people and genders and how things need to be if you're rational and you look at things the way they are and the way people need them to be and the way things come down when we think about the kaleidoscopic range of properties of human sex organs. Discrete though they may seem, you can make almost anything. They're like ones and zeros. You could just make anything out of ones and zeros, and your organs are like ones and zeros. A tata is a zero, right? And your little man is a one, but due to the inner androgyny of your endocrine system, you've got your own zero and your own one. You've got every man has an inner woman, every woman has an inner man. That's called an animus and an anima, right? Jung was full of shit, but it's still wonderful because you can make tons of stuff out of it, and you can have an unconscious, and it can be great because, you know, that's where people get to live totally blind and never think anything at all. So they go to the place that's like the genesis of thinking, and they're like, there's nothing here, man. I just had a dream about my mother jumping through a donut. It's like when PhDs in literature start looking like Rorschach tests, you know something's wrong. Okay. We have put on the little propellers. Oh, the little things which will take us onto the river floor without corrupting the information, which I call my libation. Oh. Now you're in for a rare treat. Today I've decided to take my camera across the river. Follow this man, this virgin of thoughts, as he smells the roses and he thinks about his mother because he has nobody else to think about. Nobody loves him. Oh, but it's okay because people would love him if they knew him. And he could be somebody's daddy, so be nice to him. Okay, here we go. Ouch. You know, you gotta have a very different type of thought about all kinds of things when your feet and your body is exposed to the elements. While I am disposed to think it of a more comedic turn, if I should happen to hurt myself in my ingress across these rapids, these fearsome fjords, these furies of white temple mounts of snow and fleece and wind, and the howling wind-swept purchase that surveys the world in the deep, quiet watches of the night. And the mullein, and the muskeg, and the floop-floop, and other things which I make up in my own mind. They should all drop me into the drink like a fist from a prowling lesbianic biker. Whoa. A fist into the balls. And that is what this river is like to me, as I write a poem about my crossing called The Fist in My Balls. The fist in my balls is grist. For a tale I'll tell you like this. I went to piss and I found some bris. I said, what is somebody's dingus doing here? Bum. Ba-doo-doo-doo. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Am I there? It seemed a lot easier when I was on the other side. Just thinking about where I wanted to get to, but not the difficulty it might be in getting there. And now that I'm here, and the riverbed is so kind to me because she gives me many wonderful places to stand if I just, you know. Did this just turn off? Oh, I thought it turned off. That was the craziest feeling. Anyway, the riverbed gives me lots of nice places to stand. If I pay attention and take my time, it's not as cold as it used to be. Basically, you got to give yourself time, like the blue heron. All right, I'm gonna take a couple more minutes here. Woo! A lot longer than I thought it would be, but got the benefit of being over halfway there. You know, and you don't want to hurt yourself. You want to enjoy it because I might have to do it again sometime, and I might as well look forward to it. I mean, I'm getting wet, which is good. I'm getting practice. I wanted to have a challenge today, you know, and this is my challenge. Maybe it's not the biggest challenge in the world, but, you know, there are better and worse ways of crossing a river. Whoop! Depending on what you have available to you. Okay. Yeah. It just seems like a place where fortunes could change dramatically and suddenly. And you know, no one wants that. Nobody wants fortunes to change suddenly. I like fortunes to change gently. And not because everything just suddenly goes into slow motion, which sometimes it does when awful things are happening, but just because I kept myself in a gently way. And so nature was gentle with me and said, you are so gentle crossing my river that you can but experience the gentleness of the river, even amidst all these merciless but blessed stones. Woo. Wonderful stones. I should be so lucky to have such stones beneath my legs. Yes, and I gather strength from the stones that might be one day between my legs. I should try any of you between them and I should be happy. I should place my testicles with any number of your pebbles and I would be happy and I would be satisfied. As they say. Ooh, ouch. I do catch myself. Whoa. I gotta slow down for a second. Take a break. I don't want to hurt myself. It's a bit exhausting. Whew. I catch myself talking and I think, God, if somebody could hear me. Somebody could hear me. I'm guessing somebody can. I got a video deleted today, so. Whatever, if you're hearing this, is because I put it onto another channel, which is now going to be enlisted into regular service. for at least the next week, and then anyone who finds that channel, they'd only have about 100 videos to go through instead of 100,000, which would be kind of cool actually. Just to shorten my work. How would I shorten my work into a week's worth of material starting today? It's another way to see the 1 week span that YouTube has put on my channel. And yeah, so this is good. The only thing that could be better about this day is if I could get reasonably horny. I love being horny sometimes. I haven't been horny for a long time. I wish somebody or something would make me horny. And the thing is that what's happened is that I've been made horny by the love of a good woman, and there's really nothing compares to it. And she's got her comeuppance, and that I might have sported with her affections a little too much. But at the same time, I feel I picked just the right person to invite into my celestial daily walks. But I think she gets the comeuppance for basically ruining me for all other women. It's very hard for me to think about anyone else with the pleasure with which I think about her. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, it's almost a problem. Good thing she's of age. Oh, I remember this place. This is the place that tried to defeat me. But you shall not prevail. My shoes. It's all about what... Oops. Just took one foreshortened step and tripped a little bit. It's okay. That happens with fatigue. But yeah, as I was saying, paying attention really helps. I think I got everything. That little trip really woke me up. Now I've got about 15-20 minute walk to my habitation down here, but it's all in the forest. And I have a good chance of me not seeing anyone. We'll see. And anyway, just try to have a good energy. I've had the slugs today, that was cool. Lots of birdies. Had a really close kind of parakeet. Kind of like I had a very close squirrel encounter yesterday. And that's nice. I wish I could talk about more pleasant things. I think it might be more suitable in so pleasant environment as this. It's like coming to a great lady's home and just talking about communist bullshit all the time. But I don't know. I think it's because I just go through extraordinarily deepening and deepening periods of getting what I call all the religion out of my blood, right? And it's much more than Christianity. It's the whole thing. The whole world's a religion. I just want to get it out, and I feel a little dubious about my own efforts, I suppose, from day to day, as you might think I should, but I think it's worth it. Like, and sometimes all you have to do is carve out your life and say, look, this is me time. Even if it's the rest of my life, like, this can't be wrong. It can't be wrong to have your own feelings all day long. It's not for everybody, but it can't be wrong. Get everything communist out of me. So, yeah, you get a video deleted by the communists. It's kind of interesting what you have to talk about to get deleted. So for me, that was homosexuality and having any kind of medically accurate way of talking about it. Not as a problem, but as a solution to a problem. But they didn't like that. They don't like the idea of homosexuality even as a solution to a problem. It has to be innately beyond anything to do with problems. It's like, okay. And yet everything in the world seems to be solved by, hi. Do you want to go through? No. I can go the other way. You okay? Thank you. Yeah, it's good to check in, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Yeah, all right. Well, it's a lovely day.
It is.
Yeah. Those were nice people. It was a pandemic-related behavior. Not too bad. Nobody's been sick on this island in months. I think that's the nicest thing to say to people, lovely day. But instead of saying have a lovely day, which I never say, I'd say have a good day. He's like, it seems so pathetic, have a good day. Like I really care what kind of day you have. You know, if I ever tell you to have a good day, you can, like, you have my permission to hit me, beat me into a bloody pulp if you want, because what the fuck? Like, that's such an insubstantial thing. Hey, have a good day. It's like, have a good day? What the fuck do you care about my day? You want me to call you in an hour and tell you how things went? You know? Actually, that burger you sold me made me a little incontinent. What about you? How's your day going? Like, how do you become a little incontinent? It's like, describe that. Well, have you ever taken a little shit? Yeah. Have you ever taken a really big one? Wait a second, let me change that diagnosis. And you're like, I wish I never told that person to have a good day. And then people will stop. You know, you start telling them about your day. You know, like, well, actually, like, between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m., I really seriously contemplated killing myself. How about you? But the rest is looking up. I got a notice from one of my creditors that my wife was now dating them. And so things are a little bit better than worse. It stimulated me. It got me a little angry, and I thought, wow, I'm surprised all this time I still have some pride left. I thought, that's a reason to live. Oh my goodness. So you see, like, people should not listen to me. I should not be around human beings. I could do this all day long. I do. I do this all day long. I do it all day long. And it's like, I had these cousins, and the most charming, nice, masculine energy you can imagine. You know, but they never talk to me. You know, I take partial responsibility. I'm not a terribly talkative guy, but in all the years I knew them, they never talked to me. And I kind of like to know why one day. What was the problem? Sure, maybe I'm not great at starting conversations, but and I think, I'll tell you my concern is that when people are in groups, right, they can never, due to maybe even natural human biology, really ever be themselves, because you're going to gear your behavior so as to fit in to everything else. Now, granted, some people, stretch things a lot more than others, and they're often rewarded for it. They learn that taking more of people's attention can make other people wanting to fit in with them, right? They can, if they don't want to follow the standard, they can set it. So in groups, you have like little cult leaders, and maybe your mom and dad are a cult leader. When I sat down at the table, it was my dad that did all the talking, right? I met a lot of homosexual-leaning men who like to do all the talking. I've met a lot of lesbianic women who like to do, yep, you guessed it, all the talking. And they've all been sexually abused. Anyway, on to nicer things. Look at this. Now, this is that area which I've thought I might fall afoul of, which you have to be very careful. It's a trail, but I've got things in my hands, so I'm going to take it very slow. This is basically like, you're in this like totally easy walk, and then this is actually like a hazard. This is a hazard, so I have to approach it very carefully. And I'm gonna, whoop. I did it so quickly the other day, and I thought, what the fuck are you doing, man? You know, seriously, like, what the fuck are you doing? So I'm just gonna stand there for a second. It's getting around this tree is the difficult part, because if you look at beneath me, right, and this ground could give way at any time, right? So quickly make it around, move the shoulder up, whoop. Then it's just a tiny moment of vulnerability, and then up we go, and we're done. But it just takes an uncommon movement of the shoulder and the arm. And if you're thinking quickly, like, you're done, you're in the drink. So I just re-taught myself how to do it. And okay, so we've got another 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to take a break along here somewhere. At least switch arms, because my shoes are heavy. I get tired. Here we go. You know, I wonder why Mother Nature invented two arms, because I only need one. to do most of mine. But yeah, I'd appreciate getting horny today. I wonder if nature will send me some horny energy. Horniness. What is horniness? Maybe I should create another invisible starship inside my waning libido. So inside my libido is William Shatner, Deanna Troi, Data, and basically whoever else, whatever character I need to fill the time until the rocket ship starts to boil away a little bit on the launching pad of my endocrine system, in the brain pan of my telephonic connection to sexual reproduction. Okay, so this is an incredible little ship, so small yet spacious. We've been sitting here for a while, Data. Have you finished the level 7 diagnostic on why the ship isn't moving? William, Captain, this ship is very antiquated. It doesn't really have a level 7 diagnostic. It's happy or sad. There's a switch here, and I can tell there's another switch with a date, and it says that it's been sand for 46 years. So I think to get this started, we're going to need a blowjob from the Madonna herself. Okay, well, Data, let's make it happen. Isn't that what your captain used to say? Make it so, number 2. Well, actually, that's number 1, Captain. But wasn't he number 2? Yes, but in the 21st century, they don't make that distinction in a more polite and forward-thinking way that we do, sir. So for the sake of their television performances, we called it number 1. Really? You'd rather be a number 1 than a number 2? Well, Captain, in all fairness to your personal proclivities, yes. For I am the color of urine, you'll notice, and I am, after all, from Uranus. You're from my anus? But I thought Diana here was from my anus. Captain, I'm sensing something very disturbing in your emotional field. Oh, shut up, you cunt. By the way, why haven't I banged you yet? And Data's like, I am seeing some life in the matter-antimatter chamber. I think that the two of you should sport some more with each other's affections. Even with the reckless and casual banter, which you have only just now demonstrated, is actually quite demeaning to Diana, whose psychic sensitivity is 1,000 more than in the smell of the average basset hound. Diana, that means you probably know what I'm thinking now. Is that why your nipples are getting harder beneath your Starfleet standard issue spacesuit? Which, by the way, is a lovely floral pattern that seems to emphasize your breasts in a modest but not pornographic way. To answer your question, Captain, yes, technically I can feel everything that you're feeling, but that doesn't mean that I want to. That's funny. Now, some Deanna Troi is a little heated at this point, I think. I don't think she's what you would call a willing participant. And she's making her boundaries clear. Women, listen up. Diana is doing exactly what you should do to protect your modesty. No, Captain, you say. Just because... Just because you dealt so handsomely with the tribbles Doesn't mean we're going to let you do the dribbles down our pelvic area. And William Shatner's like, what, I already have some pre-cum. And The Wrath of Khan was a really good movie. I wanted to fuck him in the mouth. And Deanna's like, that is too much information, Captain. Perhaps you'd like to sit down on my lap. But Deanna, that's a confusing mixed message you're giving me. Well, maybe this will make it more clear. He grabs his cock and shoves her tongue down his throat. William Shatner's like, he's already having an orgasm. He's it goes all over, all over the spaceship. And children on that day, the spaceship grew 3 times its normal size. And then launched into Deanna Troi, apparently. Breathe, breathe. There's a man there smoking cigars. He seems like a nice guy. I just don't want to be caught going into my habitation. You know what? I could use this banter to also infuse the likelihood of a bowel movement with the nectar of my impromptu comedy. Wow. I've been waiting for you to come into the world and let me know that everything's clear for eating more of this wonderful food. This song is meant for you. If you've ever had to poo, this song is meant for you. And you know that nothing else will do. The song is meant for you. Ba-da-da. This song is meant for you. Ba-da-da. This song is meant for you. And here we are. Place where no man goes. And that's not called the video. The place where no man goes. Where Newman goes. I like how toilet paper falls from the tree. It's like every day the tree makes new toilet paper. It's like the tree makes new toilet paper. And like the tree makes new toilet. Oh, there's a mushroom. Toilet paper for me. Hey, there's a mushroom. Ooh. But I'm pleased to know I just had a nice little half-pound brown baby boy. No complications whatsoever. Now, now, I think I saw that man smoking there the other day as well. So, I wonder if he's going to be here a while. He's seen me. So maybe I should go somewhere else. You start seeing a white man around. Sometimes you gotta, sir. He's just smoking a cigar, and he waved at me. He seemed like a pleasant dude. Like, I'm not inclined to think someone's unpleasant until they tell me they are. So, seemed like a nice guy. It's nice to think there are peaceful people around here. I don't begrudge someone, people, for instance, who give me a sign that I should feel intimidated or something. I don't always dismiss that, because it is good to know the mentality of locals and stuff like that. And, everyone's at least telling you something. You can thank them for that. But so I'm always mindful that someone might not like me being out here, because the local white people end up telling you that, whether they mean to or not, because that's just the way they are. Like, they never like anyone doing anything, unless it's something that they do, or something that their friends do, and something they know people are supposed to do. It's like a wrinkle in time, right? They all do the same thing, they live the same way, they think the same way. It's all the same, day in and day out. And that's what they depend upon. Everyone's the same, the world's the same. And the world is the same. It constantly stays the same, it constantly changes. It's the theater of the world. It's always communist, but nobody ever seems to figure it out, right? The Republican is always hated, the Democrat is always loved, and life goes on as it always was. It always will be. And you should be so lucky to live on into eternity. That America should always be the way it is today. And just think, today, 100 years from now, people say, I used to love the way America used to be. It used to be so free. Free in those days. In 2020, it was so free. Oh, to have those days back now. To be able to go back in time and be in 2020 again. When a man could still be a man, and a woman can still be a man as well. Because on the stage of the world, women have been men, in particular, for a long time. Hitler was a woman. And by the way, not to incur any wrath to women, it's just, or of women, but Hitler was a woman, Freud was a woman, right? Who accused women of penis envy. Right? Nothing makes sense about these people at all. Right? I mean, Freud wrote, or at least we're told that Freud wrote, or had ghostwritten, incredibly, wieldy intellectual tomes. Man and his discontents and whatnot. But essentially, he became known as the guy who said that women envied men's penises. And of course, people scoffed, as they were supposed to. Oh, what a silly concept. And Freud became popular, and basically the father of modern psychoanalytics, which is all a joke to this day, and we're still laughing, and the psychiatrists are laughing a lot, is because they've got your money and your children. They can prescribe drugs. I mean, they've got it pretty good. They get to tell you what is normal and what is not, or at least they get you to think that's what they're doing, because really they're not. They're just giving you drugs and helping to administer a world religion. I'm so glad to have this. So anyway, I'm basically home now. It was nice. It was a nice journey. I wouldn't do it every day, but that was nice.
across the river without much ado, and made it here without much ado. Much ado about anything. It hasn't rained really most of the day. Yeah, I'm a peaceful guy. In my way. The deletion of that video I made, it's what I call like useful destruction. You know, the pentagram kind of takes it in, and it's like it's time to make some interesting changes. Like I said, at least a week's worth of new material just for one channel. So this might begin a channel like, but I'll just say, hey, if you want to look at my work, look at this. You know, just look at this stuff. And there'll be like, you know, 20, 30, 50 videos just following the journey of my thought from day to day, which is a little easier to show someone than thousands of videos, and, you know, dozens of books. And what does a book need to be in my world? A step along the way in the process of thinking and learning. That's all your book has to be. And not as something, by the way, that is to be used to sleep with women. Oh, why did I write my #1 bestseller? It was just as a way of learning, a step in the journey of becoming a better man. Oh, I love you. A Step in the Journey, a book by Landon James. Landon James, please tell us, why did you write this book, A Step in the Journey? Well, Rosalind, may I call you Rosalind? Well, my name is Steve. Well, Rosalind, I think it pretty much sums it up in the title. You see, I wrote the book to explain why I was writing the book, and so I gave it the title that is the explanation of why I'm writing the book. Because I was taking a step in my journey. It is a step in my journey. So do you mean that all the book is a step, or just the book takes you through steps that turn into one giant step? It's like, you know, Steve, you're such a Steve. Steve, you're such a Steve. Well, Steve, may I call you Steve? Well, that is my name. But I did like the other name as well. Rosalind? Yes, I like Rosalind. I'm wearing my wife's underwear right now, and her name is Rosalind. Well, Rosalind, yes, I think every sound we make is a step. It is like beginning to place our oar into the limpid waters of creation while we are yet incarnated, a spirit made flesh, in the earliest of the dawning of our days, as a numinous man and woman of the age. Could you simplify that for us? Some of the people at home only have 55 IQ, and they're already thinking about clicking on the ad for men's pornographic whipped cream. Well, Rosalind, I guess you could say that it's all a step, isn't it? One step after the other. And now Americans are gathering around their TV sets. They understand this language. Like, you see, I could simplify my work by saying every day, everyone takes a step. And then they take another step. And some people, they're in hospital, or they don't have any legs. They can't take any steps. Maybe they're in heaven, and they don't need to take any more steps, right? They're free of having to walk up those steps or down those steps. There are no more steps for them. They've reached the 13th step. It's like, you're dead. And Americans are gathering around. But when I become president, I'm going to make a lot more steps so that maybe you can make it to the 17th step before you die. But the higher you get, the farther you fall. And that's how we're going to save America, by falling off the 17th step that I'm going to build, and Americans are going to line up and fall off the top of it. And you're wondering, I know what you're wondering, you're thinking, how does that save America? Well, it saves time and money getting you to kill yourself in the usual ways. I call it the 18th step. Tony Robbins is here to help explain it. Hi, everyone. Yeah, well, just let me settle the energy a bit because I think I'm a really gentle man. I'm really into honest gentleness. Just settle it down. This is a very provocative discussion. People who've read any of my hundreds of books and have seen my ads for whitening cream for teeth and my new chain of stores called Suits for people whose humongous egos cannot possibly fit into their incredibly large heads. What I found in my journey, Rex, is that Americans simply need a way. That everyone has the desire to change, but not everyone knows how to change. But I found in my series of books that when you present people with steps on how to change, you combine it with their true desire to change, that everyone can change. And ultimately, I can make a lot of money. As a neurolinguistic scientist of the damned. People don't like me. They don't like me. Why don't people like you? A book by Landon James. If you're not a good communist and believe everything you're told, you'll think that the world is speaking in bold. You'll do your true thinking only when you're told. But then, one day, you catch yourself saying something strange. Something nobody else has thought. Oh, why don't I quit my job and live on welfare? And see what's what in a world that's never given me the time to think about what it is. I have enough jizz. But it's not my biz what I do with my jizz. I might squirt it over here. I might squirt it over there. I might pretend I'm Jesus, making everything fertile again. Going forth like a water wiggle everywhere I go. Look, everybody, grow. There's my seed. What a beautiful day. I took a nice crap. And the trees gave me my toilet paper. Nice. I had to scrounge for pieces yesterday, so today the tree had given me a few leaves. I just put a little crap, nice little crap, and then I put some dirt on top of it. It would disappear eventually. The sun will harden it. I'll see it. There's a place out there I'm going to have shit baking in the sun in a month or so, and I'll be like, then we're going to be doing some cooking. Welcome to the Excrement Channel. Have you got your spatulas? Because today we're doing some cooking. Yeah! Human cookie dough. Yeehaw! Does it have chocolate chips? It is chocolate chips, my a chocolate chip off my shoulder. It's a chocolate chip off my shoulder. The chocolate chip on my shoulder. My obsession with excrement. Eschatologist speaks out. The shit that was like a chip on my shoulder, man. I had to get it off my shoulder. I knocked it off one day and said, "You stop that shitting in the woods. Stop using the King James Bible to wipe your ass." Some fine reading in that book. You'll notice in sections of the Bible that God is scoring people, and they're like, "You've killed us, you've tortured us, we've lost our children, our wives, our fathers, our people, we have suffered endless torment. please, God, have mercy on us. And what are you going to do now? And God says, I'm going to torture you all over again. It's like the firebombing of Germany in World War II. Burn, 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 morning and night. You barely had a chance to recover, and they'd be burning your family all around you. Right? That's what they did to Germans. Shh, don't say anything. So, you know what? All bets are off. You know, because when you treat my kind of people, they're not my people, but they're my kind of people. You treat that my kind of people that way, I don't give a fuck about you, your world. I don't have to be anti-human, I'm just anti-world. If I was a Christ, I'd definitely be an antichrist, which is what a Christian is, really. Isn't it? You use the letters, you get antichrist. Built right in. Every Christian has an antichrist built right into it. It's built right into Christianity. It's an amazing religion. Forwards and backwards, just like Metallica. Amen, I'm going to kill you. Amen, I'm going to kill you. Christianity. I knew a young man named Kevin Posh for a while, and he would have said, if asked about Christianity, he would say, "Doesn't bother me none," because that's how he used to talk. Doesn't bother me none. And yet he always insisted on being right about everything. So I was getting a little young narcissism going on there. Anyway, I forget what I was going to say after all that. Too much of a lead up. Oh yeah, Christianity. He would say, "It doesn't bother me none." Oh, I love childhood. You know, oh, I loved it. I did not want to grow up. I'm one of the few children who did not want to grow up. I love childhood. There was nothing else to do in life except to go hang out with your friends around trees, play a bat. Like, we didn't really have to do a lot. It wasn't complicated. We'd jump out of trees, maybe hang a rope on a tree, go play basketball, fucking ride our bikes around. It was nothing much. I mean, you might say very boring, but I was okay with that. I would take that over the rest of my life. And so here I am in the woods, my pentagram connecting to childhood. I'm glad I made it here. It was quite a vigorous journey from the other side, kind of like time travel. But and here I've got a nice easy walk home. It's peaceful, peaceful day. My, most people don't know me, which is okay. Actually, that's okay. I'm okay with that. I really am. It's nice to be able to say it, like to all people, like I'm okay if you don't know me. to the people, to my family, to friends I've known, like, you didn't know me. You know, basically, you just didn't know me, and you don't know me, and it's okay. It's okay. It's actually okay. You know, can you imagine that it's okay? It really is okay. It's like it's totally okay. Like okay, as a word, needs to be absolutely applied in this situation. Okay, like it's not just what something is; it's what something needs to be. Right? It is okay that nobody knows me. Nobody's ever known me. But all it would take to know me is to spend the same kind of time my friends spent with me when I was 10 or 12. It's just that the trouble in knowing each other is just that actually there was too much peripheral stress. You can see it. And part of that was from school, part of that's from home, right? And then just all the other stuff that just comes from being alive. And the school and the home isn't really respecting that enough, like the kingdom of our minds. And it interferes people really just enjoying being alive and getting to know each other because you know my friends, I don't know about you, when I was young my parents didn't get to know me much and my friends got to know me even less. You know, and but the time that we shared was wonderful. You know, you want to sing songs about it. It was that beautiful. Like we didn't have to know each other. We knew each other as much as we needed to. You know, and it's okay. It's okay. You know, and I thought in my life, in some sense, like you can want it to be more than it was. You can want childhood to last. You don't like seeing your friends start to exhibit more noticeable signs of stress and loneliness. Um, and it was really hard for me to see friends go off and get jobs, you know, because it's a lot of work and it's too much. I think it's too much for a lot of people. It really is. I mean, in a sense, childhood and home and school are there to get you to make that leap of faith, like joining the SEALs. You see, like you join the army and all the physical activity, like basic training. Like school is nothing. Getting a job is like basic training. You know, going to school is though like basic training. It's like it's all to pull you out of your comfort zone so that you can jump successfully out of the airplane of childhood into the great wonders future of adulthood, right? And you make sure you got a good parachute and you work really hard, you know, but everybody's going. Nobody's staying in the airplane. And it's made as though a precipitous and inevitable leap into a world completely different than the world of a 9-year-old girl and boy. And I look at them, I look at when they're 8 and 9 and 10, and I think how little they know about the world that they're going to be pushed into. Do you ever think that? And I don't claim to love children. Like you all say you love children. And I'm not doing anything to love these children. Right? I'm not helping them. I'm not doing anything to love them, so I don't love them. Right? I don't love them. I don't hate them. I don't love them. But does anyone else kind of feel a little tug in your heart? You see these beautiful young girls, they're 9, 10, the boys as well. But girls are very elegant, very graceful looking. They're beautiful. They are worthy of some attention. Their modesty, their purity, their humanity, to say nothing of their femininity, all rolled up into one. What a perfect creation. And then you look at them at 16 and see what's happened to them, right? Am I being cruel by saying that? Was it cruel for me to say, I don't like what we do with young girls? And feminism isn't enough for me. Like, feminism is just, that's just like the Olympics of psychological sterilization. And that's great. Have your Olympics, you know? I'll come with you. We'll all come together. We'll walk in pride. But at the end of the day, brass tacks is going from childhood to working for a living is really painful. And lots of other things are painful about it. And you see the pain on people's faces, not just mine, of a lot of working people. at the end of their day. I've seen bus drivers at the end of the day, and it's like their patience is strained. I'm going home. They don't want to be there. Right? If they weren't getting paid, they wouldn't be there. Right? Let me put it another way. If they weren't getting paid, but they had the same amount of money to live on, they wouldn't be there. Right? I get paid, I guess we figured out today, $1.50 an hour. 25 cents a minute to live my life. Which, as I've also found out, is about as much as you can get paid to be a homeless Vietnam veteran in the United States per day. Adjusting for different currencies and so on. And yet, I live like a king. This guy in the States was begging someone for a pair of socks. And you know what I feel? Glad. Glad, believe it or not, that I have my set of standards for living. I've got what I'm used to. And I'm used to having dry socks. Right? You walk outside in Canada, your socks are your best friend. I wear wool socks all year long. I love my socks. I'll fucking fuck my socks. You know, I'll fuck every one of my socks. Just to say, hey there, man, I want to fuck you. You've been good to me. I have fucked all of my socks. Well, beautiful. So I want to say to young girls, um, solidarity. Um, there are two things that are true, and you need to listen to both of these things. One is nobody's really figured out how to deal with this world. Two, everybody is trying their hardest to do that. Keep that in mind, be patient, and do everything else you want to do. And if it's healing, healing. If it's career, it's career. Um, in a very sobering sense, everybody has a healing journey. And everyone has a kind of a sad story. History has a sad story. Countries have sad stories. Um, the Encyclopedia of Pain has many voices that are not being heard because people think it's just not their job to listen to it. And it's not that you need to give people money or give me money or this. Just when you get a chance, listen to the people around you and hear their pain. Listen to the people of the world and hear their pain. And don't be so anxious to file it away. It's this person's fault or this person's fault, or the way feminists say that people are in pain, or the way Christians say people are in pain. Just pain. Before it was Christian or feminist or politically correct, just pain. Just the fucking pain. Think about the pain in everybody. Death row, kindergarten, rich family, poor family, people you like, people you don't. Person that fucking cut you off in traffic today. Just think of their pain. Think of the pain of humans. Think of the pain of our race. Think of the pain of our animal nature. Think of the pain. Think of the pain. Sobering, isn't it? Sobering to think of the pain. Everything else, notwithstanding, think of the pain. The pain, the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain. Right? Sounds like a French video. The pen, the pen, the pen, the pen, the pen. C'est pas, c'est pas, the pen. We don't like it. We don't want it. What do we do with it? Those of us who are sensitive to it, sensitive to the pain of the world around us, what do we do? And now this is a specialty video. It's for a specialty class of human beings who, one, don't take to communism. They don't take, in other words, you might say, to the idea of going to work. There's a lot of things that can socially be very difficult for people. When I did go to work, the people around me had lots of mental problems. That was one. And the girls were going out to bars and having sex with random guys and eventually getting pregnant. in being single mothers. I mean, you're telling me they weren't in pain? And I had to work around this? Like, how am I going to be friends with these people? I can't solve their pain. I don't want to fuck them, right? What am I going to do? Go with them to the bar so they can find the father of their next children? I mean, what kind of relationship are we going to have? But nice people from nice families, different religions, you know, the whole deal. Beautiful. And I'm just like, this is all, I'm deprived of this. You're showing me things, it's like they're showing me their breasts, or, you know, like presenting themselves. And I'm deprived of it. There's nothing here for me. Beautiful mind. One of them had a really beautiful mind, beautiful breasts, beautiful woman, but I can feel her feminine energy even now. She had such a powerful feminine energy. She really had something. And probably men were very strong with her, but she had a, like women like this, strong feminine women, they're strong, but they're still feminine. You know what I mean? And it was like there's something about her, something about this woman, but it wasn't me. What she would need is a man who fully admired her, understood what a woman like her was. But you see how hard that is? Pun intended. See how hard I am for her? You see how hard that is to imagine? And I would want that for her wherever she is, because I wasn't that guy. Like, I knew that and admired her, yes, but not her guy. And that's the great thing about strong alpha feminine women, is those boundaries are really clear. But still, in a sense, a very sensual woman. Amazing. It's the first time I ever met her. Like, she would dance sometimes while she was working, just a little bit, right? It was just like, you could see, like, you know, she liked a dance floor. She liked attention, you know. It had its place in her life, but that's just it. It had its place, and you could see it. And she liked the place that it had, and she showed that. And I found her very intimidating, but preciously caring human being. You know, which to me sounds like how you would think of a truly feminine, truly alpha female. To me, like they've got to be a little fearsome. To me, but just very tender at the same time. Big heart, big heart. Not just in that usual white person way, but I mean like the kind of heart that can really get hurt, and kind of always is, kind of like mine. Just always hurt. You have to live always hurt. My heart was broken before I was born. You know, it's just my heart weeps. My heart weeps. My life is just run by everything to do with the weeping of my heart. I love the weeping willow because I feel like I'm an emotional, weepy type of man. And nobody knows that. I just weep, man. Like a few times a year, I just weep. Things make me weep, or I just weep. Something will make me weep. The Amanita makes me weep. I weep. I weep for myself. I weep for my life. I weep for my mother. I weep for my father. I weep for everyone I've ever known. I weep for them. I weep for you. I weep for the world. I weep for every child who, like me, ever felt just scared every day of their fucking lives and didn't even know it. And felt bad for being scared, for being shy, for being sensitive. Do you know how many extraordinarily sensitive, ingenious children are born to, however well-intentioned, fairly callous homes? You know, you have to be careful what you say at this point, right? There are a lot of homes among all the peoples of the world with children with extraordinary gifts in terms of intelligence, but also emotional sensitivity. And these are not children necessarily like me, need to learn to play the piano or speak 5 languages or be sent to special schools. Please don't think about that about us, please. That actually scares the fuck out of us. That you start thinking about putting us on a stage or playing any of our material for other people and just sharing us with the world and making us the best we can be. Like just fucking calm yourselves.
Seriously, like you're losing your fucking minds. What are you, pedophiles? Like shit, we're people. You know what I mean? Like, like treat me like a fucking child. Leave me alone. And as a child, I just wanted people to leave me alone. Just leave me alone. If you can't be there for me, then don't be there for me. You know what I mean? And at a very young age, I was just very shy. And I think I learned as I got older because my early language, my inner thought process, had been really challenged. So by the time I was a person in my own mind, I was already recovering from the first shock. A lot of people don't think of their thinking until they're about 3. And I can remember certain lucid dreams I had when I was about, 2 or 3 years old. That began my psychic existence. It jolted me into a new psychic existence. But those out of body experiences also came because I had been shocked already. My early language, my early inner thought process had been dislocated. The biggest shock in the world probably happened between I was born and the age of 3. Already something seriously wrong happened. Okay? Now it's very hard to account for that. As you get older, you can hate your parents and see things, but how do you really think about being hurt at 2 years of age? Because when you're there, and all of a sudden you start to feel a sense of pride and possession in your mind at 2, in that you were fine, you were great, and I was great, and you were great, and 3 was great, and 4 was great, and 5 was great. And it's all great, and it's good, and it should feel great, right? But it may not have been as great as it felt. It might have been great in the way that someone comes to Ellis Island from a war-torn country and finds America, and no matter how hard it is, it's all of a sudden great. Because, at least your parents are near, and at least you have a bed to sleep in, and, everything seems like normal. And as far as you know, it is. Children's minds are so sensitive, they can take so much, and they can even get happier the more they're hurt, just mentally. So, in fact, the more incremental the stress to a child, the more they could start to become enthusiastic about it, especially if it's repeated, right? Woo, it's that again. Like sugar really is a poison response in children. It's not because it actually feels good to them, right? It's that they're learning about something that feels bad. They're feeling excited about something that's doing bad things to their body. It's basically like giving them heroin. No child needs sugar. Like sugar, you'll notice, is for people who have low energy and usually obese. The only people who need sugar are obese people addicted to sugar. They're the only true sugar requirements of the world in most of its usual forms, except for in whole fruit and organic cane sugars, which are actually nutritious. They're not poisonous. So if you're on sugar and you want to get off, go to cane sugar. That's the only sugar you should need. It'll get you off of sugar, and you're going to want to, if you don't get a good chunk, one fucking amazing fucking swift fucking swing of the sword of ultimate nutrition in the realm of protein every day, you're just fucking yourself. So you got to find the ultimate protein meal when your fires are burning at their greatest, right? Whenever that is for you. It's usually, between 12 and 3 for most people. But it could be any time, right? It's just a personal thing, but you got to have the most wonderful stroke and the perfect range of protein at least once a day, probably more, depending on how active you are. But understand, that gets your mind right. That's actually an antidepressant. That's a sanity pill, right? If you're inclined to go a bit crazy, right? Because a lot of people, the way they eat, they've gone a bit crazy. So you don't want to go crazy in terms of your blood sugar. That protein, this protein that I carry around, it keeps my body comfortable as I, right? It's intelligence food. Protein is brain food for the whole system, for your stomach, your blood sugar, everything. This, a good range of protein. This is pinto beans and quinoa, and coconut oil and Himalayan salt and cayenne pepper and shiitake mushrooms. It's very simple today. That's a really, and this is everything I need. Gets my brain good. And so on my channel, you won't see me buying and preparing different proteins and things like that. This is basically, when I get home, I might make some eggs or something like that, but this is what I live on every day. And sometimes some meat here and there, you know, whatever's available, but um, this is what I come back to. This is my daily protein, and it's the full range. So if you grew up ever eating sort of canned beans on toast, that's actually a pretty good, actually, full range of protein. And I don't know what they do with those beans, garbanzo beans, I guess, or whatever they is, in the Heinz beans and tomato sauce. But you know, you could live off that shit, especially if you had some bread to go with it, like a grain, which really draws out the protein spectrum for like vegetable-based proteins, at least like pinto beans and then probably garbanzo beans as well. So I would have beans on toast, and that was a very, my dad would have that, and that's like for a poor person back in, you know, East London, that that's a good meal, beans on toast. Maybe, you know, they might add some bacon or something like that, but beans on toast or mashed potatoes with beans and maybe a vegetable. That was basically probably standard fare for my father, and it was for me growing up. But still, a good, you know, the protein was represented quite well. But now, as an adult, I know that meat is not enough of a protein for me. It can only ever be a supplement, but it is, after all, somebody's spirit, and it can feed our spirit as well. You may have different experiences of that. You might think, well, the bucket of chicken I had today, I think, you know, it fed your, you know, didn't feed your spirit. And so you have to experiment with, like, what are moments in your life where you have like peak meat eating moments, and you may find that that's the only time you actually need to eat meat, is when you really need to eat meat, and that's a peak eat meeting moment, is like you really need to eat it. Like when I eat this stuff, it's a peak eating experience because I really need it. And it's like when you really need something and it does what you need it to do, in the realm of protein especially, because that's your fundamental food. It's not vegetables, it's not fruits, it's fucking protein. Right? I can fuck your vegetables, fuck your fruits, fuck your egg whites, fuck all your carbohydrates. If I can have a good protein spectrum, I can live and live well as long as I need to, especially if I need to. Just like if you really needed to, you could live off of probably dried venison or frozen meats. You know, especially if you hunted them yourself. Like, yes, you can live off of meat, especially when you need to. But when there are other sources, and sometimes even better sources of the protein that you need, meat can become superfluous and it can become addictive. You're just eating it because it's there and it tastes good and it smells good, but you may not really need it. And you don't know that unless you do like an elimination of it. You know, have it once a week instead of 7 days a week, that kind of thing. And have other ways of filling in. But it's such an involved process. You can't really tell people what to do. And you can have a lot of, you can feel bad. You change your diet, you start feeling like shit, you know, and it's just like, it's not worth it, right? But and I never recommend any radical change to one's diet, even though you may be dying from it. Because you'll just die from it a lot more quickly than you would have if you change it too quickly. And I've seen that happen, by the way. And because people go into withdrawal. I've seen people who died of withdrawal because they went from their addiction to meat to getting straight sugar or fruit juices every day. And it fucking knocked them right in the chest. You fucking died of a heart attack. So, and whether the women around him killed him or not is another story entirely. And very suspicious. But I get this protein. It feeds my supercomputer. I'm cold. It's cold. But I'll be able to handle it because of, and also the fats in here. And meat at this point would be good too. I mean,
fat meat, no good. I don't eat bacon, but I don't eat pork anymore. But I think there's something actually kind of not right about it. But that's my opinion. There's something kind of dirty about it. Not because pigs are dirty, but because something's been bred into them. Some of them, I think that's almost human. I think human beings have actually been bred with pigs. And so that pigs actually have human DNA. So when you eat them, you're actually eating humans. Now, why anybody would do that, I have no idea. Maybe if they were cannibals and they wanted to have a food supply, that would be good for cannibals and good to pique people's taste in cannibalism, if not literally, then figuratively. And of course, the Bible starts with a very popular cannibal called Cain and Abel, which is also what becomes when someone becomes a go-to person, meaning the goat splits in two and gets the serpent tongue, becomes psychotic. And that's when people's genuine desires come off of not so genuine, come off as not so genuine. Because their body and their mind are serving a different master. I mean, think about it. Whom do you serve? I can't tell if it's raining. Let's sing a song about that. I can't tell if it's raining or not. I can hear the song of nature. Oh, here we go. I think it's raining. I think it's raining. Sorry. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it. Yeah, it's raining. Oops. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Even though the sound of it is something quite precocious. It's something
So precocious. Don't be so precocious, Sonny. You're so precocious. You're sexually precocious. You're one of those sexually precocious children, aren't you? You're sexually precocious. Don't be so cautious with your precociousness. You're sexually precocious, and I know it. I know it. I saw you looking at my bum the other day.
Oh, I was with this woman. It's crazy psychotic. And every time I bent over, she'd stare at my ass. And she was just like, she couldn't even hide her admiration. And I had to have conversations with her, like, this is what this is and this is what this isn't. And she'd be like, yeah, whatever. And she's like, it didn't matter. She had like no ability to hide her desires, but would talk as though she didn't have them. And that's a very crudely serpent-tongued person. It's very disarming because they're like, almost like little children, like, no, I don't want anything. Oh, but aren't you so good looking? And it's like, but, I've been assaulted by a lot of women. I'm just not really into that. Oh, I'm not into it either. Oh, at all. Like, I just sit and admire the girth, which I imagine is born between those beautiful thighs. I mean, it's just, forget it, it's just not even worth it. It's humorous, Oh, I see the look of Odin. Odin's looking good. Is his head turning into a vagina? Odin, what's happening to you? What's happening? No, he's got a handlebar mustache that's been tied together to look like a pocket pussy. Best as I can tell. I'd like to hear the chatter on the moon landing. It's land there in that crater. It looks like your pocket pussy, Neil. Don't say that on the open channels. But yeah, it does. It do look like my pussy. It do look like my pocket pussy. It's looking like my pocket pussy. I'm looking like my pocket pussy. I keep it in my pocket, a picture in my locket that makes me feel good about you. Oh my goodness. I wish I had a pocket pussy. A little furry pocket pussy. I'm sure that's inappropriate. We're all animals at some point, it's just, we're all animals. It's a good thing. We have private parts. We have little bits that want to fit into other little bits. Just have a little bit of fun, just once. I'd like to have a little bit of fun with my itty bitty penis inside some perfectly legal bit of twat. They sold what? Twat. What? What are you talking about? Twat. I don't know. Different names for the pussy. Twat, pussy, vagina, vajayjay. I'm sure there's so many more. Bearded goat. I just made that up. The womb, the uterus, the cervix, different parts of the vagina. The thing that you stick your thing into when your thing wants to stick itself in that thing. The thing that somehow wants your thing. It's like hungry for it. It's like, I'm a girl who has everything except one thing. I need it now. Now I've got what I need. Now, this, make me feel like a woman. Yes. So, and it took me a long time to figure out that women actually like that. I mean, not what I just did, but they wanted penises inside of them as expediently as possible. And it's like, I don't get it, because I grew up and women were like so flaunting their asses, like at every opportunity. Like, holy fuck. Like they didn't know that every boy in the row of the classroom was like staring at every micro fucking quadrant of her butt every time she came back from sharpening her pencil like 7 times a day. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, nothing is more pure and peaked than the hard-on of someone who's like 12 years old staring at a woman who's already
as I was later found out, fairly sexually aggressive. And what was I saying? Kind of mixed my thoughts. Yeah, and the thought never occurred to me that they wanted something from me. Really. As much as I wanted to give it to them, I never imagined that they wanted it. Not until I was like very recently, and I'm 46. It's like women, because women, it's strange. It's not that women didn't show an interest, but it never seemed appropriate. You know what I mean? Like, it never seemed like something that a woman would do if they wanted me to stick anything inside of their womb. It's like, this isn't right. Like, whatever you're doing, I want to say to them, like, it's wrong. Like, do you like me? Like, do you like me? Do you want to get to know me? Like, let's just, like, stop all this bullshit, right? And, it's like there was nothing that they had learned in interacting with men that had to do with telling men anything about who they really were and being honest about whatever it is they really wanted. And they acted like they had never put any thought into the kind of interaction that they were having you, but clearly there were some very strong desires that needed to be met. They were happy to sort of play roulette, I suppose, as to how many of those desires would be met and how many wouldn't. And they had made their decision. They were content that if they could discard someone easily enough, then it was never a big enough deal for them to get too upset about, because they could always find someone else. And just so many women in this way, never seem to have even been safe enough to make a really strong and determined commitment to getting to know a man in any way, shape, or form. And you can only imagine what had interceded in that, otherwise I would say perfectly natural desire that should never have been as difficult as it is. And it's not my fault that women have a difficult time getting to know me, and I'm a perfectly intelligent human being ever since I was a little boy. And I understand that there are lots of things that interfere with human beings communicating. I know things can get quite desperate. I know that, the next step in everyone's life is maybe not their favorite thing, but it was theirs. And whatever steps you take through this world, you're lucky to have a roof over your head, and maybe someone who loves you, and a job, and that's what it really becomes for a lot of people. And they don't even want to think about these things. They don't even they're like, what? You spend your time doing what? And I remember when I was in my 20s, I don't know how it came into conversation. I tell people that I write poetry, and a lot of times women, about 10 or 20 years older than me would say, oh yeah, I wrote a poem once, or I remember writing a poem once, yeah. And it was like they did it once. In my mind, I'm thinking, how is that possible? That don't you ever have time to yourself? Don't you ever commune with nature? Like, witches are just doing something that everyone should do. Like, if you can feel good sitting in a forest like today on a cold Canadian June day and just listen to the sound of rain as it creates its incredible celestial timpani upon these trees and is hastening even as I speak. What are you doing? I take mighty gulps of some kind of celestial and medicinal influence over my life while I just sit here and enjoy this forest. Getting to talk about it is just a bonus. And it helps me enjoy it even more. There's like a warmth coming over me right now. I feel the pentagram. Something to do with the pentagram is warming me with celestial energy. It's kind of orangey red. Love. It's love. Nature loves me. I can feel it. There's love filling my veins. It's like she enjoys what I'm saying. She enjoys who I am, what I represent. I'm her flesh and blood. I'm trying to be as good a part of her flesh and blood as possible, just like every animal. We want to impress the Mother Earth, because then we know we'll be happy. And I think that's a good desire, to impress Mother Earth, to feel her love. I want to feel your love. I want to feel your love. I got a whole lot of love. I got a whole lot of love. I want to feel your love. I want to feel your love. I got a whole lot of love. Yeah, I got a whole lot of love. So, oh man. Oh, now I feel the cold. It's just like,
It's like, think of it this way. Imagine a cold lake, and then how you'd feel if you jumped into it. And it's like, but a fraction of a second before you feel the enormity of the cold, you just feel like the appetizer of the enormity of the cold, because your skin is like electrically actually trying to catch up with your brain as to like what the hell is even happening to you. That's how it feels to be outside in the rain in Canada, but all the time, continually for hours on end. Because, if it need be said, the air is very wet and very cold. It's got a whole lot of cold. Yeah, it's got a whole lot of cold. I made a movie in high school that basically was written for and took place in the forest. As you might imagine, a high school movie, because, you know, it's not like you can afford to go anywhere else. Today, I guess films are more advanced than that, but I liked it. And strangely enough, I had not gone out of the stereotype too far in making the plot something of a horrible kind of tragedy. A little bit of murder here and there. But what's murder between brothers? A couple brothers, earthly brothers, they find each other again, they make up. And I had the actors walking off down the highway. I know, a little bit homosexual, but anyway. They're brothers, and one of them's native and one of them's white. And just as we're walking down the highway along Cultus Lake, beautiful lake, mountains, you know, very Canadian, an ambulance goes by, you know, and it's kind of like, it's like Die Hard, it's like, and I'm, in my mind I'm thinking, it's like Die Hard, keep filming, Peter, keep filming, it's like Die Hard, keep filming, because I know the credits are going to roll over this, right? Today's another day, and you let it slip away. And they're walking, you know, it's kind of like, it's a homosexual fucking retreat video, but anyway, the ambulance is going by, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's a country road. I'd never even seen an ambulance go down there, you know? And the lights are flashing and everything. I'm like, this is fucking amazing, dude. We got some really good film. And that was the last shot of the film. And we were done. We saw it, I shot it in sequence, and it was great. And had about 150-page storyboard, which I carried around as the director, basically, and the writer and everything else. And I had to get this thing done somehow. And so I couldn't really take time to really work with the actors that much. I was just happy to get whatever I could get out of them. You know, they did a pretty good job. I mean, with the script that I gave them, I couldn't really expect more. And you're my brother. No, I'm not. Get out of here. But yeah, it was pretty fun. It was, the whole way through was really a good time. The only time I didn't like was when the actors, especially my friend at the time, just didn't seem to want to be there. I'm like, and I guess I found out that 2 people could not make a movie. I had such a huge investment in it, to be fair. I don't think he could have really, but it was fun. I mean, he starred in it. He got a say in basically the entire script. So, but along the way in the editing process, he just fucked off. He didn't want to take the time anymore. Wow, it's really raining. Holy shit. It's not going to hold out for long here. Oh shit. That's a right-on shower there. Wow. What are we going to do? Have some chocolate. Wow, this is exciting. Ah, this is great. This is really good. Oh, wow. Look at this. I mean, it's torrential right now. This is like fucking torrential. It's gonna be coming down on me pretty soon here, I think. I don't know. I'm starting to feel a mist because it's just gonna grow and grow and shit and shinola. I'm gonna put my weed under here. Perfect. Put my lighter away. Man, we're just gonna ride out the storm now. Whoa. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. This is exciting. There's an electricity in the air. Woo! I haven't been in a rainstorm in a long time. This seems like the best place to stand. Wow. Holy crap. Let's see if it passes. Yeah. Anyway, things are going good at home. Buddy the dog has recovered wonderfully from his surgery. My mom is doing well. She's getting paid out some of her retirement funds, so she doesn't have to work so much anymore. And I think my mom likes living with me. I think she does. I think over time, I've grown on her a little bit. I think there was a time when she wouldn't have really wanted to see herself or resign herself to thinking of herself as someone who lived with their son. Probably more so than, I have no pride in that sense. Like, I don't mind living with my mother, so I don't really have anyone to impress, sadly enough. So who am I gonna impress, right? So I have no one to impress. I have no girls I need to impress. I have no one I need to pollinate. So I've got other things to do besides worry about what people think of me because I live with my mother. But I don't go around telling people that either because I don't think it's any of their business. And it is enough of a thing that it forces people to think about it, I suppose. But what does that mean? Well, it means that, people live in all kinds of ways, and you don't really have to read everything you might normally think into it if you just think about the fact that all kinds of people in the world live differently. There are people in this part of the world who go to different cultures. They pride themselves on living in Africa and seeing how people live in the poorest parts of Calcutta. But they come out here, and if they hear I'm living with my mother, they're like, I can't believe that, man. What's wrong with him? It's just, white people are incredibly bigoted in their own inner, religious part of the communist global state. Because it's their home territory,
It's another thing to live with people in other parts of the world, but where you come from, like, there are strong lines that are drawn at an early age between one kind of person and another. And it's very important as you take your part in the world, like, to know that there are good kinds of people and bad kinds of people. And pretty soon you realize there's people who have very different ideas than you do. And I'm just impressed that people manage to have any friends at all. I've never found that my mind really matched really well with anyone's mind. And how can you really develop your mind and find yourself inclined to really be everyone's brother and sister in intellectual glory? It's very substandard communist education all over the world. People end up drawing weird lines between capitalism and communism and socialism and fascism. And it's just like, they don't even know what they're fucking talking about because they're all the same system. It's just that you can just see it different ways depending on how you look at it. That's the appeal of it, is that you can see it whichever way you want. It's like the fucking Bible. Whichever way you see it, though, you're still stuck in the biblical sort of laser beam of it all. You're never, ever going to see it for what it is, ever. And you have no reason to. The more you have reasons not to, the more you never have reasons to see it the way it is. And that's what everything in education gives you. A way, not just a way to see things in this sort of age of enlightenment side of sense, but a way not to see them. So you get kind of that 50-50 mindset. If you don't have enough to say, you'll never have enough to see. You'll never see enough, right? You'll never really see the world the way it is if you can't really have a voice of your own in every blood and bone part of the language of your life, as much as you had a part in your development in your mother's womb, right? How much of a part in your life do you have? Oh, wondering. Yeah, what a beautiful afternoon. And you're not going to see very many two-leggeds walking in here. I just saw the spirit of that tree. You're going to see very many two-leggeds walking in here with the rain pour, so it's kind of nice. I mean, they don't. I hate to jinx it by saying this, but people do not walk through these forests. You walk a little ways through this forest from over here and over here. You walk like a deer, and you find this beautiful glade, and you don't have to get on a plane and go to another part of the world. Like, these people live near here, and they never come here. They never just walk through the forest. One lady sexually humiliated me one day after a rainstorm, saying, "I don't know how you could be wet. Do you just live in the forest?" she said to me. And it's not just what she said, it's the way she said it. I knew this person from personal acquaintance. She's already been a little vague in her sexual boundaries. And they often find a way of indicating, and they do, that things aren't so hot with their husbands anymore. Right? And, just in that, it's that way that they might admit something to you if you'd had a half a glass of wine and you're just, having some nibblies in the kitchen, maybe trying her very special pesto before you sit on the couch and watch fried green tomatoes together until their husband comes home from work, or whatever the case may be. Like, I've been wooed by many a wife, here or there and the other. You can see the look in their eyes, what they want to do with you. And that's not sex. That's just pain.